It's a little funny that I'm doing this movie. First review I did was on the Texas Chainsaw, and then I did Uncharted, which is a video game adaptation. Then I did the new Texas Chainsaw, and now I'm doing this movie, which is also a video game adaptation. Sort of a, pattern going on. I would say it was intentional, but it wasn't. What is going on, everybody? This is Owen here, and today we're going to be talking about the live-action Resident Evil adaptation from 2002. I'm just now finding out that this movie is going to turn 20 years old very soon. Did not plan this whatsoever. I just chose this movie to review this week because I didn't know what to review. So yeah, I guess it kind of works. Just like the Uncharted games, Resident Evil is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. I love everything about the games, the characters, the whole story, and even just the controls sometimes are really fun. I, no joke, bought a PS4 just to play Resident Evil 2, even though I bought Resident Evil 2 on the PC before I got the PlayStation, and then after I got the PlayStation, I didn't get Resident Evil 2 on it until like a few months later. The movies by Paul W.S. Anderson, on the other hand, weren't anything I was willing to get into. I tried my best to stay away from these movies as much as I could because I knew I was not going to enjoy them whatsoever. Probably the main reason why is because the main character of these movies, Alice, isn't actually from the games. But, of course, I couldn't hide forever. So, here we are. Before we get into this review, I do want to mention that I have seen the 3 CGI movies along with Infinite Darkness and the new live-action movie that came out recently. I was actually planning to review this movie a while back around the same time that movie came out, but, obviously that didn't pull through. But here we are now. Also, I'm not going to be talking about the sequels to this movie because I haven't seen them, and also, quite frankly, I don't really want to. I will be doing a video on the CGI movies, however, along with the new live-action film. I don't know how soon they're going to be, but just letting you guys know that those will be out there. So, expect to see those soon. Anyways, this intro has been going on too long. Let's just get right into the review. So, when I first watched this movie, I hated it. I hated everything that it did, and I even claimed it as my least favorite movie. Looking back, however, I feel like I was a bit too harsh on it because I was mostly just hating it because I wanted to hate on it. I decided to rewatch it with a more open mind so I could get a more genuine opinion about it, and I could definitely say my opinion has changed, but not by a whole lot. So right off the bat, in terms of being a video game movie, it's not bad for its time. I feel like this needs to be its own video where I discuss why video game movies don't work, because back then, video game movies were a nightmare. Not only were they just bad, but you could not take them seriously whatsoever. That's not exactly the case with this movie. There's definitely a couple of zany moments here and there, but you could still watch this and, take it seriously. But I feel like that has to come from the fact that despite this being called Resident Evil, it doesn't feel like Resident Evil. Many people tend to claim that this is a great representation of the games and how it could take place within the same universe. As much as I love that idea and kind of wish they went for that, I failed to see it as a good representation of the games. A good example would probably be the music. The Resident Evil franchise has some of the best soundtracks in all of video games. It really helps set the mood, telling you whether or not you should be alert or if you should feel safe. For example, this is one of the sounds that will play when you're walking around in the second game. And here is what it sounds like when you're in a safe room. That same feeling isn't really present in the soundtrack for the movie. For the most part, the music in the film just sounds like generic rock music for an action movie rather than the more unsettling but calm music in the games. There is one exception though, and that of course is the main theme that we hear in the beginning as well as in other parts of the film. I think that actually does set a good tone of the sort of like evil science lab that is Umbrella. Along with the music, the characters in this movie are kind of a downgrade. All of them are either super bland and forgettable or just straight up unlikable. I honestly don't remember any of their names, and that's kind of bad considering that one of them, I'm not going to say who, ends up being a traitor and is actually the cause of everything that has happened in this movie. And overall, this whole story is just bad. The whole movie is about this group of people going into Umbrella's secret lab to shut down this AI called the Red Queen, which is not in the games, by the way, like, totally made up. When they get there, they find out that there's been an outbreak, and now they have to get out. The reason I say this story is bad is because it's so boring. All we do is follow this group of people, and occasionally something happens. And when something does happen, it stops immediately. There are some parts of this movie I do actually enjoy and do think do a good job of representing the games. The whole opening scene was really good, where we're seeing what Umbrella is like normally, and then eventually an outbreak occurs, everything shuts down, people start dying, blah blah blah. I thought that was really cool. I also thought the laser trap scene was kind of cool, but now that I think about it, I feel like that was just sort of put in there just to kill off a bunch of people. To sum things up, this feels just like a generic sci-fi action movie rather than a Resident Evil movie. It feels like this movie was meant to be something else, but then someone came in and was like, hey, this is kind of like that Resident Evil game. Why don't we just call it that? Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Make sure to leave some suggestions down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Sometime soon in the future, I will be doing a video on the CGI movies as well as the new live-action movie, so stay tuned. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I will see you all later.